Okay, so I was talking about the dot scale. All right, so if we use C, it's going to be relative to these keys. So C is the root of C right there, but C is the fifth of the fourth key. So this would be relative to C anyway. No matter what you use, say the lowest playable note you have is D. Let's say you put a capo on the guitar, the guitar cello fiddle, the guitar tuned to cello fiddle. Now the lowest note is D, okay? And we look at, say, this down here, we'd say, okay, well, D is the flatted seventh of what? D is the flatted seventh of the key of E, okay? So then we would be counting in D, the second of D is E, like that. So it's simpler to keep it in C because cellos are in C down here, and then fiddles are in G, well, with the lowest playable. So the lowest playable note on cello is C, the lowest playable note with the fret nut on fiddle violin is G. Okay, so without getting too far into trying to use this chart to run, to work the whole chart, we have a whole chart to work with. Okay, there's a whole chart to work with here. These are the string shapes involved, and these guys, we can map them onto the 5-string cello fiddle fretboard on guitar. So this is it. First I have to talk about the tuning. We did show that the lowest playable note on fiddle, on cello, is the C. The lowest playable note on the top 4 strings of the 5-string CFV guitar is P5 tuned, is G. So this would be fiddle violin, this would be cello, the bottom 4. So those string shapes that we were talking about, the 12, they map onto the bottom string. So even if it says up here CA, okay, let's see if drawing tool is going to do us good this time. Even with CA, right down here, good color, that is CA right there. So that pertains to, see the C and the A down here? That is the CA string shape. It's obviously a double cage short because it's not modal. We're not looking at it as a modal here, because 3, 4, 5 and 4, 5, 6, that is a modal. So you could say, you could kind of say, yeah, it's like a 4C5A here. There's a modal that starts on 3, 4, 5 and then 4, 5, 6. But for our purposes, we're looking at it in such a way. All right, let's look at it this way. I got here the pattern stack. Okay, so here's RED, root 2, 3, 4. Okay, and then we're going to go to 5, 6, 7 root. So that's going to be the next one above it. And we just move along, DC. Okay, then we have DC right there. See the DC? 2, 3, 4, 5. Now it includes that string shape, that right there, that A. So it absolutely includes that in DC. And then we go to GE, which includes the D. Okay, over here. Includes that D. So we go all the way up until we get to CA here. Remember, CA squares off here. All right, so CA would square off here like that. When we get to CA up here, so this is why I'm calling this CA and not something else, not like a double string shape 3 4 5 4 5 6. Yes, it is 3 4 5 4 5 6, but it does not have a D in front of it, which means it's a different key. That this is not the lowest playable note. The D is. That's why we call that CA. And these are I made sure, I worked hard to make sure that these exactly match the pattern stack. Okay, so we're back. So just like with the guitar, with the good old fretboards that I've made with the guitar, I've isolated these cages here. There's 12 of them, and I may be doing this in the future for back re-implementing this like breakthrough. There's chickens out there. Breakthrough kind of to the guitar again, where we're going to have the 12 key string shapes. So these are the string shapes that define the 12 keys. Just a little word of how to do a 5-string P5 tuning. Move the high E string to the B string and tune it to E itself. You down tune the B string and move that to the G string. Just a little word of caution here that when you do move the high E string to the B string, you can do one of these things. If you have the tuner right there, okay, and you have the string right here, I would take it to its regular place on the fret nut, and then actually not to its regular place on the fret nut. Say that's the regular place on the fret nut, that's the E, here's the B string. I would take it down to the B part and then on. So that this was the B string slot, this is the E string slot. We don't, we're not going to have it there. We're going to move it down. That's how I did it, because I couldn't get it on the B strings tuner up here, I couldn't get it from there. Okay, it kept breaking. So I bought like 10 E strings, and I haven't had to use one of them since I did that. Since I just rerouted it over, dog-legged it over. So we got a down A tuned B string that is moved to the G string slot or something like that. Now that you can put in the G string slot. I found no problem tuning it. So right here you can see it. The E string starts here and it travels down to the B string slot. Okay, the B string I simply put where I replaced it on the tuner, and it goes to where the G string was. There is no E string slot here. That's not using it. It's a 5-string. And then the D string remains the same slot, same place, unchanged. Down G tune the A string, down C tune the B string, the E string, and you get. Okay. All right. Now that high E, that's the regular tension for this string, but it dog-legged because I had to run it. I had to run it from where it wanted to go to, from its normal E string tightener over to the B string. So there's a little dipper there. Okay, so that's just a little review of this tuning.